book, as I read this book to you, I'm actually replied to Heathrow, and I try and speak to it and mimic a heavy British accent because there's so many English around. It's a conspiracy to wipe out the people of Allah, all men for the people of Allah. And succumbing to conspiracy theories was a disease. To those who whined, I said, your misplaced honor is a threat to civilization. When you recognize that, there will be no problem. What are you? You who created such venom against yourselves. What did you explain of yourselves? What example did you set that the whole world took up arms against you? Are you madmen who need to be locked up? Are you young orphans, old widows, retarded children? That the world is snatching away your beliefs as well as your respect. Why are you so susceptible and weak? Islam is a way of life, and fear is not the monster outside but the one within. I laughed at the extremist group which complained about Western evil spreading amongst our people, and what should spread amongst them: rigid, unscrupulous, medieval matter born and bred in narrow minds made of stone. Are you the chosen models for the promotion of 21st century Islam? You are outdated. Your product is not sellable. As for the Western influence, I would look at their shoes, their watches and their cars and say, whereas you follow the West yourself, you turn us against it. What is this manipulation? To the many who complain of Western conspiracies, I clarify, a forward-looking, open-minded religion is a great place in today's world. It is in fact the world's need. If we are preaching Muslims, there should be no question. If we're practicing Muslims, there should be no question of Islamic threat. The whole world would have accepted the universality of our faith. Bilqis was holding her head. These subjects really disturbing her, especially at this juncture. Nobody will understand. They will twist your words and people will present it with a warped interpretation. I understood that clearly. Have they not twisted everything? Why should they respond differently now? I told another sectarian leader, this one espoused an Islamic form of government. It is impossible without adopting Islam as a way of life. The basic rules begin in the privacy of your soul and then in your home. How will you drive a Pajero Jeep, and where will the money come from? Already he found reasons to deviate more attractive than the faith. An environment of humanitarianism without discrimination versus opportunism and self-interest was the only way to promote the Islamic system. These lobbies only taught Islamic doctrine publicly, declared themselves as the blessed with special entry passes into heaven, but stealthily deviated from its principles. I would laugh. Heaven is not easy to enter as parliament. It's not as easy to enter as parliament. They will have to qualify, otherwise they'll be kicked into the opposition benches on Satan's side. As they are drugged with an overdose of selfishness and avarice covering a lifetime, they expect bogus checks to be encashed by God. These will bounce like boulders exploding in their faces. Despite the fact that martial law administrations and politicians constantly spoke about Islamic form of government, none comprehended that it meant a welfare state. I lamented to my colleagues, from one group to another, they use religion as a decoy. Although no one condemns religion, its appeal is thinning. Its practice needs to be resurrected. The greatest shirk breeds in poverty. A poor man with 8 children to feed cannot understand the ostentation and extravagance of one class. It is beyond his comprehension why the affluent survive all nature of crime while he is locked up without a hearing for a chicken theft. This system is an enemy to Islam. We should be militant about that. A leader said, God made the imbalance of wealth. It has always been thus. Stupidity irritated me in all cases. Especially in men who led. The fanatic passion you promote in an illiterate, poverty-stricken environment will soon manifest itself into a guerrilla war. But for that purpose, please do not tell me it is for God. I caught another confused man under the chadar of religion, under the blanket that you have draped over the Muslim world. Idolatry breeds corruption, lewd service, ostentation and cruelty. Direct your passions towards the people, and that will take you to good score. Let's choose a bit of our flight. We have 7 hours. I don't have to speak for 7 hours, I just have 30 pages. So I could be done a lot less. The deviation from Islam was evident from the exclusion of welfare in our society. The two were one and should not be and could not be separated. Talking about present norms, where the industrial, feudal and religious lords had divided the benefits of feudalism, the Prophet warned us, Muslims would rule themselves through sectarian divisions and duplicity. Acusar Bukhari's exile for standing up against the extravagance of leaders indicates the setting of trends. Revolutionary spirits. Revolutionary spirits were being fought as early as that. Is there not an apt example for us from them? Are the similarities not obvious to any one of you? I would be saying. When a religious preacher inquired frankly to, what is your qualification, Edhi? You are not a scholar of Islam. You have not even read the Quran. I replied politely, the Quran opened in my soul, where it was meant to. As I have remained uninfluenced by all else except my own conscience, my judgments are based on truth derived from practical experience. That gives me the right to comment. It is my qualification. He disagreed with the degree I had awarded myself and said it meant nothing. Lord. As you know nothing, you have no right to preach. I inquired very seriously, then how do I know what to practice? Allegations that had spewed from my decision to sidestep the conspiracy continued to circulate. Sometimes I wondered if they could make the public blind to my service, my commitment, my life, and to the fact that I'd always moved forward, never backward. What method could compete with jealousy? I shouted back. Some people complain that I hoarded money. When our expenses exceed 2 million rupees a day, we will be stupid not to build reserves to sustain them. If he collapsed, they will find another, more justified flaw and complain. BD ran such a big organization, but did not have the intellect to realize what that he needed to sustain it. People were never satisfied, nor did they realize that I had not given my life to building a sound castle. General Hamid Gul returned from Afghanistan and issued a press statement. I acknowledge Edhi's work for my people, but challenge him to face me anywhere he chooses. Then I will disclose certain matters. I thought, this sounds like a threat. His position as the ex-chief of ISI, Inter-Services Intelligence, is useful in creating doubts in the public mind. I ignored the challenge, but a few days later, when he repeated the offer, I thought perhaps he thinks my advice for social change was a secret. But I gave similar advice to every man I meet. I remained unprovoked and heard from many quarters that he insinuated that the disclosure would shame me. I remarked, he has not assessed me well despite his training. I am ashamed of nothing more than falsehood. When the reporter persisted for a reply, I said, the learned should not reduce their stature by demanding a public dialogue with an illiterate fakir like me. In the ambulance, driving Bilkis to a function, I discussed the issue with her. It was a primary stage of negotiation. I had not even understood the program. Why did they declare themselves and jump into the fray so quickly? Bilkis rationalized. You jeopardized plans by your untimely outburst. Your move caught everyone unawares and they became confused. I disagreed with that. No, Bilkis. They exposed short-sightedness and a supervision program simultaneously. The occasion provided big publicity and they opted for that. Each propounded the same scheme, then denied or contradicted it. These men crashed because they were speeding. I did not believe in drastic actions. They made tight, intricate knots in loose, disorderly jumbles. The real conspirators were still concealed. They were the dangerous ones. So the keys got off the van and the chowkidar said, the driver should wait in the ambulance, you will give him something to eat. It had happened often and always gave my wife an opportunity to compliment herself. I announced at a meeting with my colleagues in 1996 that Keys and I will go to the play to the public and sell our tokens. We will not use the administration as a pillar, nor do we need the support of agencies. If our work is slow or delayed, never mind. If our time frame is delayed, never mind. We are in no haste. Appreciation comes from knocks and folds. Although funds can be procured from the World Bank, by which method we can preserve our time frame, we reject the method just as we rejected inherited wealth. It is better for us to move step by step in one characteristic way. The story of the conspiracy was not, however, over. I was informed that some unknown persons went to the bereaved family of Salahuddin, the assassinated editor of the Kabir, and goaded them to sign a document declaring me as the murderer. Salahuddin had once written an article against me, but he later regretted and apologized for it. We had met at the Karachi Valley after a long time. I told my colleagues, they still need to break my channel. Many people want to break the system I'm building, just as it is a gift from God to some. It is a monster for others. General Zia had previously attempted to replace me with another social worker. It was no worry for me because you cannot replace genuine work. You can only add to it. Add to it.
Do you need to plug your headphones in and start working? And you've got to shout. Right? Should be fine though.
Uh, I realized that what was being attempted now, and said, famous people should make worthy institutions without trying to pull me down. I'm not in competition with anyone. My work is wholesale. They should support it. Building together is better than isolated work, which will bring them a name and more fame but not take the nation forward. The new pressure group, Social Welfare Revolution, was dependent on the Edhi Foundation system. It dissolved at one level, then I rejected it. 4 years ago, I had worked out the feasibility of a 25-bed cancer hospital, and a building on the busy Tariq Road was purchased for easy accessibility to the common man. It had become operational in October 1994 and provided free chemotherapy and medication. The Jinnah Hospital provided us with radiation facilities. I explained the project to a Time magazine correspondent before he went to inspect the premises. When rupees 40 crore were required for the project, I rejected the plan. It was unviable for my policy of maximum results at minimal expense. I explained that I had rejected purchasing 2 radiation machines at the cost of 9 and 12 crore respectively. It was not economically feasible. The cost of recharging units is higher than the initial price and will further increase with inflation. Cancer research has not yet concluded. Treatment will change with new discoveries. Spending such large amounts of public money on constantly improving electronics is against my economic concept. The annual registration of cancer patients in the official health record was evidence of the low ratio of cancer detection. I explained, although detection is gradually rising, most people die without even discovering the nature of the disease. A third world population does not have the means to obtain even simple medicines. In the case of cancer, even the wealthy detect the silent malignancy at a late stage. The poor, despite obvious symptoms, treat themselves with mixtures and powders obtained from village canteens or the local doctors. Hospitals come into the picture at the third or fourth stage, when all you can provide is a better quality of life until they die. I explain my own priority. To care for the dying is the duty of mankind, but to save the ill, rehabilitate the deprived, and motivate society towards self-help are the essence of me. The team went on an inspection tour of the cancer hospital. They were explained our concept. In a society where family ties are still strong, patients arrive from the remote rural areas accompanied by their entire families. We accommodate them in Edhi homes, provide them with free food, and under the supervision of trained staff, patients are cared for by their kith and kin. As the backing of a general hospital is necessary for the treatment of cancer, specialist physicians and surgeons are on call from the Jinnah Hospital. When the ratio of cancer patients increased beyond our capacity, we accommodated them in our general hospitals and transported them to Tariq Road for chemotherapy. The UK Edhi Foundation provided cancer treatment under an agreement with the renowned hospital. The foreign correspondents returned to me that they inquired about Imran Khan's hospital as a comparison. There is no comparison. I said, we operate at the grassroots level in all sectors of our work. We have a wholesale policy, so many of other matters take priority in the field of health, that I do not consider the smallest unnecessary expense acceptable. The poor need basic facilities. They are neither used to nor in the quest of luxury items. Radiation machines like big buildings are not feasible for foundations work. I was by no means against specialized hospitals and explained, I think small and remain grounded to reality. That always forbids me to fly into the sky. People don't live there, they live in the grind of the earth. Public money is the trust, only when it is stretched for maximum utility. In my humble opinion, it was better to convert the useful institute into a general hospital. If it is for the poor, it will get public respect, like the Gangaram and the Mayo hospitals. When the Time magazine correspondents expressed views that nowhere in the subcontinent they had seen the efficiency and dedication exhibited at the foundation, I was pleased. Random killing in Karachi were a daily occurrence. So now you no longer had to belong to a group or a party to get shot. No one was safe anywhere. Shopping centers, restaurants, mosques, offices, and homes in all areas were danger zones. You neither had to be poor nor rich. Everyone was a target, and there was no pattern to the killings. Mass fear was created. 15, 20, 30 people were gunned
Oh
down
yeah, I'll just
on a daily basis, and it became common news. For those of us involved in the site and with burials and families, it was a tragedy that carried with it a sinister note for the future. When two American diplomats were murdered in a vehicle drive, consulate attention of both the government and West was drawn to the spiral of violence. I remarked, when will we learn the value of the best places of life? Their two citizens are of more value than the countless that we have lost. While the ethnic, sectarian, religious and political groups created chaos, violence instructions from the tower sent ambulances rushing in all directions. I visited all the centers, instructing drivers and staff every few days. Your only duty is speed. Pick up the victims and press the accelerator. You have no business to advise, argue, or comment on the incident. Dialogues and opinions are not your subject. Our men worked round the clock, entering dangerous areas when even the police and the rangers hesitated. As the media hardly made any mention of the Foundation's service during these times of trouble, our drivers worked without being noticed, applauded or appreciated. I reassured them, it does not suit us if they do notice. Work as if you operate underground. Time is not conducive to a high-profile service. I did, however, make a point to a government official. When so many men put their lives at stake, it is a sign of sympathetic society if by your common method of propaganda we are discredited and lose trust for my lifetime. Motivation and inspiration will also be affected. The Foundation's drivers will refuse to endanger their own lives for public benefit. Then, what do you propose to do? To organize sympathy was my business. It was better that no one saw me doing so. I would appreciate our drivers and pacify them. If they notice us, they will also diminish us. Let us work quietly for a time. I became all the more conscious of a rising danger to the Foundation's stability. The extent of my work had been understood by a powerful section of the mafia, and it was an opportune time to disrupt it. It stood in contradiction to the violent environment that had been stirred around. Designs to destabilize Pakistan, maintain the present conditions, and obtain personal positions were all synonymous. The political and general mafia, along with their beneficiaries, could neither afford to encourage nor applaud what I was building. I suited nobody who had become somebody or would become so by manipulating corrupt conditions. The Edhi Foundation's ultimate goal was a monster. They had noticed too late. Now it threatened their plans. The benefit to the people and the country was not their concern. They want the spoils of war, which is why Muslims have never experienced a ceasefire. A self-perpetuating elite feels directly at risk if we succeed. If they could see our utility, they would feel assured that we would benefit from whichever rule. But for that, they would need to think, and that is asking for too much. We were directly pitched against this mafia. The other two groups that comprised the entire population were either those who had distanced themselves from the malignancy and were thus quick to doubt, or the silent majority which read and heard nothing but would be deprived. The other two groups which comprised the entire population were either those who had distanced themselves from the malignancy and were thus quick to doubt, or the silent majority which read and heard nothing that would be deprived. Off-the-record statements circulated and reached me from reporters almost every day. Edhi's personal life is a sham. Bilkis grimaced when I told her, they don't know me, nor me, I thought. I was further amazed when I heard Edhi is on intelligence records as an exporter of soft organs and bones from bodies. It was irritation that made me respond at last. I decided to explain to the learned how they manipulate the illiterate by ambiguous falsehoods. Apart from the armed forces of Pakistan, for whom certain rules are relaxed, everyone else has to pass through a process. Export permits from the National Airline, the Export Promotion Bureau, and the State Bank of Pakistan are required. It takes only 24 hours for a matter such as this to be exposed. Now, have I managed to conceal so sinister and serious a crime for 45 years? But do I have government approval? Perhaps I'm also a smuggler, rushing with my ambulance in and out of India. Has nobody in 45 years detected even one sneaky ambulance speeding across the border? I also explained to the literate a primary procedure for this venture entailed. Are they ignorant of the fact that as only healthy organs have a utility. Recruitment for transplant is conducted only on the living. That demands expert handling and a maximum margin of 8 hours between removal and transplant. After the brain, within moments of heart failure, the kidneys fail, whereas unclaimed bodies that pass through the foundation are either rotted or completely damaged. Just as I was affiliated with no politician, so also I was not opposed to any as a special case. Whoever was in government or opposition was not my concern, nor did I worry about another martial law. My work had progressed at its own pace, step by step, despite our checkered history of dismemberment, dictatorships and its disorderly aftermath. I had proposed, despite corruption and other obvious evils. I had progressed, despite corruption and other obvious evils. I told many army officers, we are that part of your body that has evaded disease, whereas you will limp along handicapped, and amputation of the only healthy part will throw you into a grave. At a meeting of senior officials, I said, while you think you've been breaking down the structure, I've been building a system for over 4 decades. You can change nothing by changing the face of police inspectors, jailers, parliamentarians, ministers, and prime ministers. Change the system to accord with our way. Then faces will automatically be replaced by public servants. When somebody talked of success as a natural reward for good work, I explained, Sawab and blessings are God's prerogative. We are not in a position to demand and specify what He should give us for that. What? To those who prayed that more people should be like us, I said, Delhi, these attempted cases are of no value. Emphasis on the individuals only breeds sycophants. So many years later, there were many who still complain and question, why must you pick up Christians and Hindus in your ambulances? And I was still saying, because the ambulance is more Muslim than you. I was also getting thought-provoked and would often snap, we will pick up everyone. If you object, buy your own ambulance and don't sit in mine. Sometimes I would explain with irritation, only I was talent. Some people criticized. After so many years, why does Edhi Saab has owns the ambulance? Why is he not upgraded them with Toyotas? Could explain to them that the Suzuki parts are cheaper. It is not the foundation's aim to provide another VIP service. The foundation's aim to provide another VIP service. Luxury is not available. When a 12 crore population streams out, or that's 120 million people, streams out for basic care. As our goal is to cover the majority, a rich man will have to make do with the same vehicles that carry the poor to hospitals. If 1% do not like our standards, 99% need them. We are practical like the government. Our race is with it. Sometimes I be furious at these demands of my service. If they say that I provide inadequate services and run a 24-hour emergency system on
Ladies and gentlemen, sorry to disturb you. Just to let you know, the cabin crew will be...
Right. They should refuse the use of the ambulance. Tell me that you don't require help. I can find work in another country. The world is full of needy people. They are everywhere. I can leave you and go away. I was prepared for any eventuality and told my colleagues, if we are hit in Pakistan, we can migrate. We will find work wherever the poor live. The system can easily be set up anywhere. Many foreign rulers have offered me citizenship as well as a daily hour on national television to promote our program. At the Goethe Institute, we viewed the Foundation's work telecast on German television. It had received enough public response to inspire the German president to request a visit to us during his scheduled tour in spring. Driving back, I remarked, nobody has ever given importance to our work on state television. Perhaps the saner elements of the world will recognize the need for uplift in the third world. I had told many diplomats, having developed such a fine communication system, every jungle should have had an aware man by now. Why do we need another century to raise awareness? Now convert, divert and spread, so that a new era can begin. It is the time for that. My companions complained that the government not acknowledging our work. I was talking of a more serious matter. If world leaders were to utilize the facility of the electronic media, they would raise the level of social awareness and untangle the jungle. A basic liberal education program could spread deep. The disability of reading and writing could be overcome as people will lean towards rationality and progress. It is the only way towards moderation, the only weapon against fanaticism. But First, they will have to think in terms of world peace with a long-term view, not of establishing petty hordes and the substandard leaders. The tower was now inundated with death threats targeting my family and colleagues. When I was sure of the seriousness, I talked to them. I have a feeling that the time to clamp down on us might come through personal attacks, a negative media campaign, and disruption to emergency services. Prevailing conditions indicate a desperation towards furthering some devious plan. Those who want to push until a desired conclusion is achieved might find us appropriate and explosive targets. We were also targets for those who want to usurp us. Those have realized that our work extends beyond burying unclaimed bodies. Politicians are not a problem. They live on a drift and watch out only for immediate threats to personal profits. Protect yourselves in whichever way possible, but always adhere to your duty to serve. Bilqis's eyes expressed concern when she asked, "Why are you so worried? Our life is an open book." I shook my head. "No, Bilqis. The mafia does not need the crutch of legalities to cause harm. On the other hand, despite ample proof, it escapes with impunity. Neither are murders detected, nor reputations marred. Even their popularity and social status remain intact." She still wondered, "But you can fight that like you did earlier." Again I shook my head. Then I had the benefit of time. Now there is none left for trial and error. Conclusions like beginnings are sensitive and fragile periods. Only the middle is relatively safe. Faisal had become an enthusiastic volunteer when he suggested we order fluorescent waistcoats for our workers so that they looked orderly and became recognizable. Bilqis mocked him. "This is not the US. I asked for a sample, which he promptly produced, and I approved when he suggested we place an order with the company. I threw it away. That's not the right way. That's not the way things work here. Buy fabric from a wholesale market and get the women at the centers to stitch them. Saving money is our goal. You must never forget that." He tried to pursue the plan by pestering his mother. Right. He's a cute idiot. Anyway. Okay. Bilqis was always worried about her sons. Now she became paranoid and asked me, "You say yourself that your enemies can destabilize the foundation through us. Then why are you encouraging Faisal to stay?" I'd answered the question too many times to reply again. And so she carried on. Now Faisal was convinced that protecting your example and the foundation's concept is increasingly becoming his life. His state of mind disturbed her enough to make her continue pushing him away from us. I have suggested he spend time with his own age group of boys instead. I told him we don't need his help. I asked her what he said to that. He said that despite what I say, he knows you need him. He sees it in your eyes. I asked her to stop nagging him. My colleagues also tried to dissuade her from hating herself like a child, but she would not believe he wasn't. Why did Edhi run away was a question that did not fail. It brought to light our jumbled priorities, and I said to journalists, 1 month in England, a few guarded statements, and 45 years of service vanished in thin air. I asked them, why do you not adopt a simple method of justice? Pick a scale, put my labor, my life, my commitment, my giving and taking on one side, and substantiate it with evidence. Put the allegations against me on the other, and also substantiate that with evidence. Then we can talk again. Front space, half-page advertisements for cigar donations in all the national dailies flashed. A few days before Eid, they were replaced by appeals for hikes. When a senior journalist suggested that I counter the ambush by similar methods, I searched the expressionless faces of my friends, wondering what they proposed. And big scrutiny assured me, and I declined the advice. It is not my style to spend money on advertisements. The concept is wasteful, despite the fact that the investment brings in large donations. I've already advertised through ambulance services and other relevant facilities. Expensive publicity deviates from the foundation's commitment to substance. We exchange reasons and ideas, but I still concluded I have never allowed the foundation to become dependent on the medium. Work must cover us. We neither had money for advertisements, nor did we aim to motivate the public in the bubble. We would only do what we could sustain. Let them recognize us by what we provide them. Our advertisement is truth, practical work. They will respond to it, slowly but steadily. Flash behavior was in Flash behavior was an upper class attitude. Although I had no direct experience with that class, I felt an inherent dislike for their low standard of thought and high standard of living. Low standard of thought and high standard of living. The hopeless conditions I had studied, made their value drop to zero. As I felt more fallen than any poor man, nothing let me sway and stray in the face of obstacles that the upper class created. I explained to the group of journalists, I have learned not to put faith in words, which are not substantiated by practical experience. Nearly 30 years ago, I had fought the local body election and understood how one group captures, breaks, and forces you towards its own goals. Then you fall into their methods and ways forever. It was Eid. I remembered little Bilal and visited his grave after morning prayers at the mosque. Even now, as many years later, when I was reminded of him, the day was ruined. Celebrations ended and I rang the information bureau for a final count of the collection of highs. The Karachi situation in steep divisions made our numbers fall to their lowest ever. We were depending on the Punjab, where we suffered a 50% cutback. I asked my staff to check the Zakat deposits and come to Mitadar with our accounts. They arrived promptly with final figures. Those had also been diverted. My friends looked sad. I smiled at them. It is the nature of man. People forget the value of their money. Yes, I was despondent. No, of course, I had not given up. It was a temporary setback. A demand for altered maneuvers and imperatives had arisen. We discussed the matter at length. I understand that our achievement is as much the outcome of perception as it is of hard work in economics. When perceptions change, they are believed. Some might give me the benefit of the doubt, but most will fail to look beneath the surface of lies. When they have an attractive option, they reject you without a hearing. At home, my wife made an effort to brighten things up. I glanced up at Faisal, whose worries showed through despite efforts to conceal it, and asked, our life has been predictable and unpredictable at the same time. What bothers you now that is different? He was hesitant before expressing his concern. Just like others who have watched your work and committed themselves to your example, I too feel the weight on my shoulders. Like them, it is sacred for me to defend the system you are still laboring to achieve. I asked him what was difficult if he recognized that. I don't think any one of us has your strength to dedicate our lives to public service. Mankind's liberation from basic problems is a matter of 100% commitment. He blushed, looked down and said, although I am confident that I will do my best, I am still questioning myself. I had watched Faisal grow these past few months and noticed that despite his cheerful disposition, he was serious and observant person who was not easily bored. I told him, don't push yourself. Give it your best, that will be enough. Kubra shows signs of sadness other than those that had emotionally torn her apart. She was now disturbed by intrigues, allegations and losses. She had told her mother, my father has given his life. We owe it to him to safeguard his purpose and I am free to devote myself to his work. Kubra had worked with consistency. She was a good administrator and had displayed diligence and dedication in organizing nursing teams and supplies in Pakistan. While I was involved with earthquake victims in Cairo, she was still not ready for any mention of marriage, and so it seemed unlikely, at least for the present. Bilkis worried for her too. She's taking your direction. Do you think she can ever turn back to what she sees around her? The times we foresee will pull at her strongly. Then, any chance of a normal life for her is over. I asked her to let Kubra be. She will only do what she believes. In the last 10 years, she's experienced a world of reality. I must often wonder, where was I? Where have I come? When I heard that Qutb intended to return soon, I warned Bilkis, everything takes effect according to its time. If he wishes to come back, then it is time for it. Do not stop him. As our children have been personal witnesses to my life, it will necessarily inspire them. Did I not always hope for exactly that? They were trained to protect the foundation. Al-Mas remained involved with her home. According to Javed, apart from household duties, she was either reciting the Quran or on her prayer mat, crying for me and the foundation. When Javed inquired why she cried for the foundation, she replied, it comes to mind with him. Also disturbed, but tried to conceal their thoughts from me. I laughed at them. Dealing with millions of people over a lifespan has made me an expert at human assessment. Why do you hide yourselves from me? They laughed at that. You taught us to be suspicious and cautious of everything around us. Now, you see that reflection on our faces. They were comforting me, but they added, You also taught us that as results were not in our hands, anxiety was worthless. They reveal their worry. When we see no appreciation for you and hear that we know to be untrue, the ingratitude makes our blood rush through our veins. I asked him, why does it bother you now? Has this not been ongoing? They confirm my own idea. The foundation has become visible when it is at its lowest ebb. It is a more dangerous stage.
Sorry.
Some were always angry about the smallest remark against me. An English daily printed an article about the great social works conducted by the Arman Foundation, coordinated organizations, and the New Cancer Hospital. Edhi Foundation was mentioned at the end with some small NGOs. Can they not see? I pacified them. The majority of people have no vision at all. Very few have a short-term vision, and a long-term vision is extremely rare. Remember that we are confronted by this environment. Inmates at our centers and the little children I played with knew nothing about my problems, and they clamored to me with eyes full of hope and prayers. The mentally disturbed, whom I bathed every Friday, rushed as always towards the railings, chanting, Maulana Abu has come, Maulana Abu has come. Amidst laughter and innocent happiness, over things so small, I poured the sun for a gap of solutions upon them, praying to God for Abraham, the Lord of the West and the East, and all living things, Commander of the unity and equality of mankind. Allah, watch me the time to deliver your word, safeguard it from evil, and if it be that my share is done, then let there be someone to take it to completion, so that your hand protects these who live without the protection of the state. Through the clamor and din, as they played and laughed, hugged me and kissed me, I knew that my sadness was in fact due to their joy, which was at stake. My mother's home had been preserved for the time when we would eventually hand over the foundation and retire. An event Bilkis and I had often talked about enthusiastically. Now it drew me back to the beginning. So where it would all end. We drove through the narrow alleys that led to Chaba Gully and walked into the stairway. My nostalgia grew stronger as vivid memories of the little things from long time ago veiled the present. I stood enchanted by the small room. It was exactly as I had last seen it. Pots and pans were neatly stashed beside the stove. A bare chalkboard that my parents had died on, and an empty bucket were signs of my loss. I carried the pail down to fetch water from the tap outside the building and returned to open the window. I looked out at the street below. There was no distinction between the past and present here. Across the alley, a fruit vendor's stall stood in exactly the same position, making me smile with affection at a refreshed memory. When Bilkis pulled up her sleeve to prepare a solution in the bucket, she also reenacted a scene from long ago. She sat on the floor while I washed the window and we talked. Bilkis, I pray we can hand over the foundation in our lifetime and live here quietly. When she did not answer, I turned around and waited for a response. She stretched up, clutching her bag, and looked at me seriously. I don't believe you can retire. Not unless it's to your grave. Even here, according to plan, you'll be raising funds. Even there, according to plan, you'll be raising funds.
Sorry, Mum and Dad.
When her usual laughter did not follow, I knew that she was too shaken by events. The dust removed, she sat on the shop boy and watched me roll up my pajamas. I pulled up the soaked shoe rug from the bucket and on all fours scrubbed the floor, returning every now and then to dip the rag in the bucket. I said, I wonder what I'll do when I'm free. Perhaps I'll reflect and meditate. She brushed the idea away. You won't be stationary for long. What's after that? I talked and she joked intentionally until I had placed the pail of dirty water by the door and joined her to sit cross-legged on the charpoy. Life was obviously drawing to an end. It was evident from how much we had both aged. Her hair had turned grey, mine was white. We both suffered from diabetes. We were tired and overworked. The condition brought thoughts of my mother to mind, and I blinked away the bitterness in my eyes. She had instilled in me a passion for public service above all else, saying, "You are the most insignificant of all creatures, but can become most significant if you contribute towards God's people." As a youth, I had understood her words as truth. As a man of 66, my life had served that truth. We talked about Rabia Ma's loss to our family, and my wife wiped her eyes, saying, "We led our lives with the values set by our mothers. They touched our souls, all we have done, and all we have done, and will do." Soon enough, it was time to go. Bilkis collected the cleaning materials, and I took the pail downstairs to throw away the water. Sitting on my haunches
You're a
like
happy
so many
baby
times
on the
before,
fly.
I rinsed the pail under the tap. My mother's words crossed my mind again. Only the labor of mind and body are your responsibility. Results are not in your hands. They are in the safekeeping of the Almighty. I walked up, repeating her words aloud, relating them to my present situation. Nobody has a claim on results. Rewards for the best efforts are not guaranteed. They are not provided according to wishes and expectations. Aiming for them is your business. The bucket replaced in its original position, we were set to leave. I said to my wife, I have remembered something important here, that which the pressures of life had made me forget. I became entangled and knotted with them. We had done our work, and now everything will be according to God's plan. It is not our business to worry. Ours was only to labor. Suddenly I understood something else that was important. Do you realize, Bilkis, that this is all we own at the end of life? We looked around and up at the ceiling of this room that was ours. All the effort of mind and body soul, we attained this one room for it. The evaluation is perfectly accurate. Bilkis remarked earnestly, and what more do we need? I stood in the corridor, watching her lock the door. When she turned to face me, the smile that had hardly ever left her face, she looked tired, and I said to her softly, Bilkis, you are synonymous with my person and the foundation. We are one. Her response made me laugh again. Compliment me as a woman. Don't compare me to your foundation. And all the way down, she imitated me. Despite the fact that everything seemed to be moving towards destruction, Pakistan might still have the future I envisaged for it. I shared these thoughts with my wife on our way back to meet her. The foundation is its safeguard. The crane to lift it up when all else has been tested and has failed. Alright, so now where was I? I share these thoughts with my wife. Foundation is its safeguard, a crane to lift it up when all else has been tested and has failed. With every breath I took, I prayed that it survived. My hopes were embedded in the people of Pakistan, those who were as yet unaware of its importance. One day, when they know the Edhi Foundation will receive national protection. Until then, who knows? Back at Mitadhur, I fell into a characteristic silence. It descended over me every time imperative needed to be changed. I became quiet and calm, pondering and searching for answers, waiting for flashes. The mood was contagious and made everyone around me melancholic. I explained that I was only thinking, but everyone continued to look sad. I spent long hours sitting behind my desk, and Mitadhur became as quiet as it possibly could. Nobody broke my thoughts unnecessarily. Everybody tiptoed in and out of the room most of the day. The girls whispered, my colleagues dealt with the public, and then suddenly I became conscious of ringing telephones and noisy rickshaws. I locked myself in the toilet. Do you eat something? Do you eat this? No? Can you eat this? Okay. Play with it. Literally spitting on me. Right. Nobody broke my thoughts unnecessarily. Everybody tiptoed in and out of the room most of the day. The girls whispered, my colleagues dealt with the public, and then suddenly I became conscious of ringing telephones and noisy rickshaws. I locked myself in the toilet. Silence followed me. Meals were quiet, the ambulance was quiet, home was quiet, even Bilkis became quiet. Business went on as usual. I moved from one center to another, solving problems, checking flaws, and giving orders. When there was a moment to pause, I stood still, looking up into the sky, sometimes looking down to the ground, until some sound broke the meditation. On the bench outside, I would sit with my head in my hand, and sometimes the whole night would pass. 15 days passed by. When the period of deep thinking ended, I could never snap out. I had to come out slowly. It always took time to return. When I did, I forgot about discoveries and searches and hoped for some direction to emerge from my mind. It was a set pattern. I drove to the tower, called for my colleagues, and asked for an update on regular donors. Late. Into the night, we worked on calculating dependable sources, listing those who contributed regularly to build the system for the unfortunate. After 6 hours of mathematics, the Foundation's new program was confirmed and narrowed down to a dependable support group. I announced a new method. Adversity is productive only when it is under observation. From my study of its dynamics, it is evident that we cannot depend on the general public. It sways too freely. The people turn their backs on us. It is time to stop relying on them. The regular donors of the Foundation, the unit by which we will set our new time frame. It will have to be extended from 7 to 12 years, but it will be dependable. Loose fundraising will be replaced with a methodical, organized and reliable channel of income. We will try to strengthen this source. We also commence the first phase of our mass literacy program by providing a blackboard and chalk to all rural development centers. Locals recruited on allowance basis will teach men, women and children to read and write between Maghrib and Isha prayers. That's from around twilight to night. At the same time, we launched our small road rehabilitation program through the 25-kilometer centers across Pakistan. I explained the reason for the setback. I don't make small matters big for nothing. It would have been a disaster if I had succumbed to fear of short-term losses. The Punjab will soon return. Their diversion is temporary. In Sindh, we will continue to suffer for some more time. The spirit of charity is low today, but it will rise again, God willing. We will one day introduce a collective social welfare system. Walking out, I issued another instruction to my colleagues. Do not give me any news that is not important to the organization. They looked at each other for a moment before one of them inquired, when have we talked of anything else, Maulana? I looked down, then up at them. I mean, do not tell me what is being said about me. Do not whine about how the network is being reduced. Do not talk about ingratitude. Rumors alleging that I was an Israeli agent did not die. Despite them, I became one of the first public figures from the Muslim world to support the pact on Palestinian self-rule in Gaza and issued a press release in favor of the settlement. I clarified my stand. I do not believe in hypocrisy and am not concerned with opinions of propagandists. For me, national interest is a priority far above myself. As my own spirits lifted, those around me also recovered. Past events, their aftermath and financial losses were brushed away. It was usual in big business. Now I settled in, watching, observing and listening while everybody thought I was involved with the world, the nation, the masses, setbacks and conspiracies. My colleagues unsuspectingly lay back, while I meticulously scrutinized the workings of our administration for many days. The momentum was breaking. We were becoming slack. Whereas I was in my office at 7 a.m., my senior colleagues were not even at 10. I went to the control room and decided to change everything. Have you become bosses? What is the red tape? What is this red tape? Bureaucracy, peons, favoritism. Is this a trade union? Pick up your own telephones. Operators have not been provided for your luxury. There is no difference between us and the clerks. Work with them or go home. I recruited fresh blood and young people to prepare assessment reports. My colleagues reacted, felt insulted, sulked, fell ill and avoided me. They complain amongst themselves as it was warned me. Edhi Sahib, it is not a good time to make these reforms. Propagandists are waiting in the shadows. I responded firmly. If anybody thinks that I will cower because of that, they are mistaken. I have lived a dangerous life and fear nothing except God. One by one, I explained to all my old friends, your experience is an asset for youngsters to learn from. That is your contribution in this work now. Beta Durg was inundated with calls and I was explaining to zonal heads and friends all over Pakistan. People settled down after a time. Bringing in energetic youth is not an insult. I am also tired, but I have a commitment to fulfill. I clarified, explained and appeased. Because of their long association with me, senior colleagues will become chaudhries as soon as my eyes shut. The system cannot afford that. It was not created for that. We do not need more leaders. I am the founder and will remain a strict disciplinarian to oversee the mission until I am needed. I did not spend a lifetime producing leaders and personalities. Old men must move back. Our work is done. Young people with energy must come forward to run the system. It must be free to run efficiently. Even I am moving back. When a subject is opened, everything spills out. Ambulance misuse, lethargy, chit-chatting and political quickly became apparent. I shuffled everyone around and put my colleagues into place. I explained to them as they continued to sulk. I became involved with events and you thought we'd accomplished great work. It became time to rest. I've slashed expenses by a further 35% and slashed administration as well. The mission is important. Nothing else matters to me. Nor should anything else matter to you. I knew they would adjust. This had happened before, but they continued to grumble and cry on each other's shoulders. I joked. If the mafia found out, they would jump at the opportunity to capture my disgruntled friends. But I knew their commitment would not let them falter. On a more serious note, I said they love the foundation and believe in my vision. I had warned my family, do not even think of running the foundation. I am the founder and I can fight if anyone turns on me. No one after me can have the same power. My wife will have less and my children lesser. With Lisa had already made up her mind. After you, I won't work here. I know that people accept me only because of you. The tower revamped. I reversed the ambulance with extra vigor. Just then, Bilki's ambulance drove in. He stopped and crossed. He crossed and stopped. I shouted across the noise of traffic. All the old men, including myself, have been released with keys. Now I will be free from 8 in the morning. She shouted back from her window. That will never be. Don't expect me to believe it. I waited. She came to stand by my door, and her expressions made me smile. I told her softly, these are the last few years in which we can return the world's hospitality. Bilkis, let us give it everything we have. She sighed, nodding and smiling at me. This time it came from her heart. I knew that although her worries were carefully concealed, there were many. Those of her wife and her mother as well, as those that linked her strongly to the Edhi Foundation. Everything she loved was targeted, but the time to worry about her was not available to me. She turned away. I stayed a moment to watch her, and my heart sank at the inevitable departure of one of us before the other. Neither could be whole alone. I brushed the thought aside, pressed upon the accelerator, and sped to meet Hadar, the source of sweet water. Beautiful. That is the end of Abdustar. They have some words in italic that I'll read out to you. Abu Sufyanis, those who believe, those who adhere to the teachings of the enemies of the Prophet, peace be upon him. Allahu Akbar, God is great, God is great. Allahu, chanting, extolling Allah. Amma, mother. Amanat, trust. Ami, mother. Amin, trustee. Amir, head of a state organization. Anna, a currency denomination now obsolete. Arain, a caste. Ashraf al-Makhluqat, first amongst God's creatures. Asr, mid-afternoon prayers. Awami of the people. Azan, call for prayer. Babu, clerk. Bachao, bachao, save me, save me. Beimani by cricket means. Bastis, locality. Batil, falsehood. Begum, title for affluent women. Peak shop, beggar's shop. Boosi, hay, Bihari, people from Bihar, Eastern India. Biri is a cigarette rolled in leaf. Biryani, rice. Bismillah Rahman Rahim. I begin with the name of Allah, the merciful. Burqas, wheel, chadras, and outer garment. Chakki, spinning wheel. Chanas, roasted chickpeas. Chapati, leavened bread. Chabrasi, peon. Sharpoi, a bed. Chowki, post, chowkidar, watchman. Chor, thief, chaudhries, heads of villages. Darood, the prayer. Dhanda, business. Dhobi guard, watchman, embankment. Dholki, a musical drum. Dua, prayer. Dupatta, and outer covering. Rams, clothes worn during Hajj. Eid, Muslim festivals. Eid namaz, prayer on Eid day. Fajr, pre-dawn prayer. Fatiha, prayer for the dead. Fatwa, decree passed by religious leaders. Fitras, fixed amount for charity on Eid festivals. Badar, traitor. Kharas, pictures. Bazis, holy warriors. Ghoda gadis, sports car carriages. Gobar, cow dung. Guli danda, game played with a stick and a puck. Hadood, Islamic laws pertaining to punishments. Hajj, and pilgrimage to Makkah. Hakim's doctor's trained in East medicine. Halwa, a desert. Haram, forbidden. Ari's presence. Waldar, junior rank of the armed forces. Irapiri, wrongdoing by duplicity. Haq, truth. Allah, the rights of God. Ribad, the rights of humanity. Idara is a term coined by Edhi to describe bureaucratic rivalries. Iftari, need to break the fast. Ijtihad, interpretation of the Quran and keeping the change of times. Ilm, knowledge. Imam, leader of prayers. Imam Zamid, a band containing money for safekeeping during travel given for charity. Imamat, office of the Imam. Inadi, immature. In the life, he came from God. When Nilai Raju, and returned to God. Isha, night prayers. Chakir, land given by the British in lieu of services. Jagirdar, landlord. Jahez, Tory. Jahil ignorance, Junoon madness, Charter caste, Jawans rookies, Jihad holy war, Charu sleeping material, GSA, GMOJ, long live sin, long live the refugees, Kafirs, infidels, Qabza encroachment, canals, a measurement of land, Karbala, site of historic Muslim battle, Kashkol begging bowl, Kasam Kadam and Kidam, both step and pen, Kasam Kadam, both Kadam, Katwa, an Indian made from bark, Qazi judge, Khad manual use of fertilizers, Khala mother sister, Khiladi sportsman, Ubba servants, Kisans farmers, Korma, meat curry, Kundan gold, Dakpati, a person who has 100,000 rupees, Laqir ki Fakir, one who addressed letter rather than the spirit of the law, Lala, a term used to describe Hindu businessmen, Langar, who served to mendicants and hungry, Dota, a receptacle for water, Mafi, army for no, Masi, aunt, Madrasa, religious school, Maghrib evening prayers, Majburi, helplessness, Malang, a mystic intoxicated with love of God, Manat, a supplication to a saint for fulfilling a desire, Manus, a curse, Masala, spices, Mashaikh, religious teachers, Maulana Abu, honorary title for religious leaders, and Abu, his father, Bolvis, clergyman, Marvi, Mazar, shrine, Mithai, sweetmeat, Muhajjirs, refugees from India, Mohalla, locality, moments, true believers, Mudikhai, bride to lift the bride on unveiling her face, Munshir, accountant, Kabla, encounter, Mudabad, death to Naib Amir, second in command, Namaz, prayer. Mazi's worship was Nana, maternal grandfather, Niyaz, Sadqat, Khairat, charity of charity, Nikah, marriage, Nishan Imtiaz, and civil war, public service, Paki, Napaki, pure and impure, Ban, Beetle, Leaf, Raisa, small chief, Pakistan, land of Patan, Pakuras, the snack, Parsi, Zoroastrian, Zoroastrian, Patrao, stoning, peers, spiritual leaders, Barda, Veer, Puri Bhaji, traditional spicy breakfast, Qadiani, and outline segments, now outside the pales. Islam, Qiyamah, Day of Judgment, Qibla, direction of prayer, Ramadan, Lord of the Universe, Rajput, the caste, Ramadan, month of fasting, brother cards, volunteers, looting for Makan, popular slogan, bed, clothing and shelter, roti, deep in bed, Husati, rice, bacha from home, salad, curry, salam, greeting, samosa, snack, Sandhya, Swat, the black stone, the Kaaba, Saraiki, Subah, band of Saraiki speaking people, Subah, Sardar, tribal chiefs, Sarmayadars, capitalists, Sati, the Hindu act of burning at a husband's funeral pyre, burning a wife at the husband's funeral pyre, Sawali, supplicant, Siwa, blessing, Sehri, read on me during fast, Sitch, reach your bed, State businessman, statism and mentality of the businessman, Shalwar, baggy trousers, Shamiana's large tents, Shariat, Islamic law, Shia, sect of Islam, Shirwani, a long coat, Shudra, untouchable Hindu caste, Sifarish, a favor to the undeserving, Sindhu Desh, slogan for a separate state of sin, Sood, usually, Sufi, Muslim of mystical order, Sufism, Islamic mysticism, Sunnat Rasul, the Prophet, the way of the Prophet was upon him, Subari, Beetle, Sayyid, a caste facing its ancestry to the peaceful propagating upon a family, the Plague Eastern Islam, Tashmushi coronation, the Wab circumvallation of the Kaaba, the action tax evader, Tawa, a concave iron cooking slate, hulls, huge copper plates, ticket darts for tractors, Tonga, horse-driven carriage, tupi, a hat,
Ladies and gentlemen, it is about to
religious
jump board
scholars,
in the name of
Tonga, horse-driven carriage, tupi, a hat, ulema, religious scholar, Ustani, female teacher, walima, celebration of marriage, consummation, Wali Allah, the chosen one of God, Behem, Pernaya, Zakat, portion of random savings belongs to charity, Zamindar, landlord, Zindabad, long may you live. Board of Trustees of the Edhi Foundation, Abdul Satari, the Founding President, Begum Bilkis Edhi, Trustee, Faisal Edhi, Vice Managing Trustee, Kubra, Kubra Edhi, Almasi Edhi, Qutub Edhi, and Zinat Edhi are all trustees. Probably read this from here. And this is the end of the book. The ambulance for patients in emergencies in all over Pakistan. Call only the emergencies 115 and for any complaint number 021-242-4148 220-1261 and 6. And International Foundation, he has offices in New York, in London, and in Canada, in Japan, and in Australia. So with this, we end this historic and beautiful book called A Mirror to the Blind. So I hope you enjoyed this book and I hope you learned something from it. I learned a lot and I hope so did you. So until I come across a better book, which will be a while, enjoy. Okay, best is buy the book.